Well, greetings. Here we are, C-Suite Network Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. We are talking about sales today, and the word sale is not a four-letter word. It is a powerful word, and it's the engine of our businesses. And Trisha Ben, our CEO of C-Suite Network, is here to kick us off. What a treat. Trisha, we're going to jump over to you this wonderful day, October 2nd, 2025.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I am so thrilled to be here. Last month, I know I was not able to be, and that was because I was absolutely blessed to be able to be with my father. And I know I'm missing the content of what you put together, Kathleen. I cannot wait because that whole how we care for others as we're caring for ourselves and also delivering the missions we want to deliver on is so critical. And so I am entirely grateful to be here. And I'm also grateful to share that my father is going home tomorrow. So he's pretty darn excited, and that's been over a month. So he's like, it's like Christmas in our family right now. To kick us off today, I am absolutely thrilled on behalf of C Suite Network to be able to introduce Kathleen Caldwell. Kathleen, of course, is the CEO of Caldwell Consulting Group and the founder of the C Suite Network Women's Coaching and Consulting Council and the Women's Success Accelerator. But those of us who know Kathleen well know that she is the heart and soul of everything that is service, that sees other people succeed. And the mission that she's chosen, the mission that she drives here on behalf of all of us in C suite, is really about helping us as business women succeed faster. And when we look at how we coach, how we succeed, today's topic, oh my goodness, this is arguably the most critical topic there is. In fact, just today, I was meeting with a business founder and having to explain that even Mother Teresa had to feed herself in order to be able to feed others. And this is, I mean this not facetiously, as seriously as I can possibly mean it. So I know, Kathleen, you are the absolute queen of titles and creating excitement around a topic with your titles for our sessions. And today is absolutely no different. Confident client enrollment, the category of one sales system that works. And I know we're all listening with bated breath. Over to you, Kathleen.
Trisha, thank you. Thank you. Take ourselves off mute and give Trisha Ben a round of applause and appreciation. And I know several
Woohoo!
of you are watching without your
Yep,
video on.
yep, yep,
Thank
yep.
you. Yeah, thank you. Trisha, you model the way for powerful leadership and a vision for yourself and for C-Suite Network and for those around you. And so for that, we thank you for that and so many things. And, you know, part of, I believe, the category of one, becoming the category of one is not doing it alone, but being in a sisterhood and brotherhood of others that are moving in the same direction. And
Mhm.
we meet the moment all the time in our council. And so for that, thank you, thank you. So today's
Thank you.
topic is about enrollment conversations. And, we get right to it in our council. And so I'd like for this, I'm going to present some ideas and topics. However, I'd love to get the conversation going. And my intention is that you will leave our short time together with a new set of ideas and inspiration and most importantly, an action plan that you can use to start having more enrollment conversations. Okay. So I'm curious, how many of you, when you were in, going through school, coaching school, regular school, how many of you had a class on sales? I most certainly didn't. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And how many of you, had a kind of a sales orientation growing up? Meaning there's an exchange of value, you do something and there's an exchange of value, and there's like I call it the currency of money. How many of you had those conversations? Yeah, this is pretty pretty I hate to say typical, but I hear this all around is that we were never coached or guided to have these kinds of conversations. And I will tell you, in coach training school, I took a lot of classes like all of you, got my certifications. I had zero conversations about sales. And it was almost like sales was a dirty word, so to speak. It was like the training that I got was, okay, just put up your shingles, so to speak. Tell everybody you're a coach, and they will come flocking to you. And you just have to have a way that you can sign them up for something. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. And so today let's dive into it. So jumping in, and I love the idea of actually having currency in our business. So therefore, we are able to be able to go in and have opportunities for conversation. So I would love for you jump in, and when you think about sales and having conversations, would love to get you in the conversation. What comes to mind when you think about this? Enroll yourself, unmute yourself, and just jump right in. What are you thinking about with sales?
Yeah, what I think about is taking a step back from that conversation
Yeah.
and being very intentional about the kind of clients that I want to attract based on what I love to do and how much I love to see women transform and know that it's just not everybody. And if I put myself in that mindset space of knowing that I call it my divine right client, that she's going to find me if I take the action steps I need to take. Then if I have a conversation and it's not the right fit, I always lean out during that conversation to give like space for that person to, is it right or not right for me? And then when the right one shows up, like happened last week, I don't have to do anything. I just have to show up and be myself, and that's like sort of magnetizes. To me, it's all energy and frequency. And what are you holding? Are you holding desperation to make a sale? Or are you really looking for another person that you can serve at the highest level? So I feel like I have to do the groundwork first before I even have those conversations.
Oh, so excellent, Julia. Thank you. And I think also everything, we're at a stage in our careers and our business where everything that you have done and we have done has led us to this moment where I'm out of the convincing game. I don't know about you ladies. I just don't want to do any arm twisting. And exactly what you're saying is if it's a right fit and we can come together and there's an exchange of value and currency, and then let's go forward in mutual reciprocity in relationship, utilizing the C-suite network values, of course, because have you noticed that if a person is asking you and they want you to convince them on why they should become a client of yours, my experience is they're going to be a problematic client the entire time. They constantly are looking for us to convince them or to show value or prove. And I don't want to be in that business anymore. And so being in the desperation game is not what I'm hearing. We're not up to that. And at the same time, we are looking for revenue, we're looking for opportunities, we're looking for income, we're looking for the flow. We're looking for clients, of course, but who's looking for us at the same time? Yep. Any other comments, questions, points of view before we jump in as well? Right fit,
Kathleen,
Julie. Yeah.
I love that right fit look because it stops you also from wasting time that you could be getting to the people who are that right fit. It's just, it can be so tempting to get a little bit down that road and now you've invested time. And then you get a little further down that road and to your point, it never gets better. Typically, it's a real painful route to take.
Yes, yes. Thank
Mhm.
you. And all of this, what we're going to talk about of conversations, how to have more connection conversations, is also based on the premise that you have a lot of content that you've been putting out there. And so everything that you've been doing, that we've been doing, all of the webinars, all of the articles, all of the interviews have been showing up on challenges, everything that you've been doing, you have so much social proof out there that really could be and should be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for us, right? So I view everything that I'm doing to put out another piece of content, today, everything that I'm doing is part of the social proof that a person now can go out and look at to see, hey, is this a vibe that works for them, right? So it all of this that we're doing, I think, has a bigger purpose, not only educating people, but also connecting with, as you're saying, Julia, is magnetizing our right people, you know? Yeah, yes, good. Okay, so let me jump in and share just a couple distinctions about this whole conversation because this is it's so important to, I think, to not, I don't necessarily view this as sales, so to speak, but I view this as enrollment conversations. And so jumping, about this is it's really sales and enrollment. It's obviously there's a definition, there's an exchange of a product, a commodity, a service, or delivery for money or something of value. And I think that we've also confused these sales enrollment conversations as coaching calls. And that's a trap that I got into. I don't know if you can relate to this, but is people were expecting, because the coaching industry, bless the coaching industry, we're all part of it, is thinking that we had to demonstrate or we had to have people had to have an experience of solving a problem on a sales or enrollment conversation. And I think that the basic tenets of being a great coach is that we're listening to them, we're understanding their wants and needs, but we're helping them to find what they're looking for. And at the same time, I think for me, I'm also evaluating the relationship. I'm evaluating, do I want this person in my circle? Do I want to invest, bless and love everybody, of course, but then the clients we choose, we get to choose them, right? So being able to see what is it and who is it that, who's showing up and do we want to, is this someone we want to engage with? And if you have a 90-day program, 6-month program, 1-year program, I have clients that I have been with me and I've been with them for years. Is this the kind of relationship that you want to maintain? So feel free to jump in, comments on any of these topics. But I think that the old world of sales, and that's how I started my career, good golly, back in 1983, just getting out of college, is I was in sales and it was a lot of hard selling, kind of some trickery at the time. And I hate to even say it, but in technology, is we would in tech, we would promise the moon and deliver what we could deliver, sometimes with a lot of features that were not available yet. And so, coming kind of from that old world of sales, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like that. And I'm sure for all of you, it's not what we want. And by the way, I don't know if a person on the planet could buy a car for $495 with no job, no problem. Okay. So that's definitely old school. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts about sales, enrollment, questions that you have? You know, we're all a transformed group, so I know many of us will say, "Well, I love it and I enjoy it, and it's get a great way to understand and meet other people." But I'm just kind of curious, what are your thoughts about just the whole sales process? Jump in. I want to get your voice in here as well. What are you thinking?
Part of it for me is that knowing what you have to offer, but also understanding what does someone actually need, and that frequently they are not identical. So I may have a process, a system, I may have knowledge. However, what they need is some component of that and possibly something that I do not have. So for me, a lot of that turns into partnerships of bringing in other people. It becomes part of referring people sometimes to somebody else other than myself because what they know, they trust me, but they are not necessarily looking for what I have. And so it is that truly discovering, how do you be of service to someone so that when they do need what you have, they come to you because they know you were willing to share with them on a level that is beyond the moment of you trying to grind them into buying from you.
So agree. Thank you. Yes, yes. Yeah. Anyone else would like to jump in? Yeah. It's so critical. And thank you, Susan, because that's exactly how I feel is that sales is truly service. And to what a privilege it is to be able to connect with someone on a sacred call, sacred conversation, and to be able to see if there's alignment. And at the same time, I also feel like the reality of something that I was astounded by, which was the Beatles. Paul McCartney was he knew the value of being able to create and be able to be compensated for creating something. And, his vision that I just thought was absolutely hilarious is that they made a little game out of creating things and then be able to sell things, hello, songs. And so they would say, hey, let's just go out and let's write a new swimming pool. Out of the work that I'm doing, let's be able to enjoy the fruits of our labors. And I think that the sales conversation, the enrollment conversation, part of the distinction, I think, of being the category of one is what is the pool that they want to create? What's the thing that they want to get even out of the conversation that you're having with them? And most certainly, if they choose to be part of your programs, your products, your services, what's going to be the benefit for them? So that service, mutual reciprocity, I think is so, so important. And the vibe then shifts, doesn't it? It's not a vibe of I'm trying to convince you of something, I'm trying to overcome your time, money, scarcity objections. If you have those objections on the other end, I'm just trying to help you get what you want. And as you were saying, Susan, am I the right person to do that? Is this the right time for you to do that? And can we work together to achieve it? So, yes. And of course, I'm in a pool mindset now as I'm looking for new homes and thinking about a pool. So, yes, yes. The other distinction I think is becoming the category of one is sales, I think, is a transfer of energy and enthusiasm. Is what is it that you are so energetic and enthusiastic and committed about? If we've got a little uncertainty about the value proposition, I think it's going to come through. What do you think?
You know,
So,
the other
yeah.
word I sometimes hear is what are you, the value that you create in an influential way? How are you,
Ah,
is there something that they are influenced by because it serves a purpose for them? Um, so sales and influence become almost interchangeable.
yeah, yeah. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And I'm wondering about, this distinction. Can you want it more for them than they want it for themselves? During a sales conversation, what are your thoughts about that? There is something about that we know our programs, our products, and our services because we've created them and we've delivered them, and we see what's possible for them. But during this sales conversation, it's a transfer of energy and enthusiasm. So, what are your thoughts about like that transfer? Is how do you view your ability to do that transfer of an energy and enthusiasm to another person? I love to do it. I mean, I love to ask curious questions. I like to use kind of a coaching model, but I'd like to find out, what is their vision and what are the things that they're looking for and what are the dreams? And we'll talk about a model that you've all heard about to do that, but transferring that energy and enthusiasm.
It's
How do you
being
do that? Yeah.
curious. It is those
Mm,
curious questions.
yeah.
It's less about telling and it's more about inquiring into what are they looking for? What do they think they need? Because sometimes what they describe as their need, it's also educating them on what is that, they may be saying something that becomes more of an emotional attachment to the transition they want. than it is the actual product they think they're seeking. And so helping them to really be able to define what they need is sometimes part of the discussion to me.
Excellent, excellent. And I think that the person coming to the call, the conversation, they may not even know what's possible for them. They may be in a position where, and Julia, we know this for you in your programs, and Carol and Susan, and for me, is they've been doing what they've been doing for so long that they may not have a vision of what's possible. They may not, they may have given up hope that things may change. They may be so stuck in their current reality that they can't really see the possibility. So, but they see something in you. Why they're on the call is they see something in you. Yeah.
You
What are your
know,
thoughts? Jump in. Mhm.
yeah, I'm thinking a little bit more about putting myself in rooms where my ideal clients are, because the online space, women that have signed up for my program will say, "Oh gosh, I've been following you for 4 years." And I used to ask myself, is she for real? And like 4 years is a long time, but they know, like, and trust me after 4 years because of all the touch points and all of that. But I feel like putting myself physically in rooms with women who are accomplished, also entrepreneurs, and showing up in a kind of shared community in person is going to be my next step, because the online space has become so crowded and someone can make up their mind about you in like 5 minutes. I went to a networking thing last week in Charleston, and it was men and women entrepreneurs, and I decided, because my client's the 50 plus woman, um, that I would interview husbands and see what they said about their wives' pain points. And I met this really wonderful man, and he said to me, "You probably intimidate a lot of women. You threaten them because of the way you dress, the fact that you're in shape at 68." He said, "My wife is always like, I can't stand her or I love her." And he said, "But I've met you and she would love you. But online, she may be like, oh, I hate her." You know, I do get messages like that on Instagram. There's women that just really put other women down. And so to jump over that wall, just to show up and be myself in person, people connect to you on a different level. And I just feel that's more the direction I want to go. Of course, I'll still do online stuff, but it's really changed my mind about how to go to market, you know?
Ooh, love it. And the experience of being with you, Julia, like all of us, that human touch, that human connection. And as Susan, you were saying, curious conversations about what is it that they're doing? What are they looking for? All of the human connection is so powerful. So that is really great. Wow. There's a lot to unpack there, Julia.
Yeah, there
You
is.
know,
And I just
there's
want
a,
to say about
yeah,
what Susan was saying. I love that she said being curious,
yeah,
because if I'm
yes.
on a call and she's like got those objections or whatever, I got to think about it or whatever, I will always just very nicely and kindly say, "I'm just curious. What do you need to think about?" You know? Like, just being curious is so non-threatening. So I really love that you said that, Susan.
Thank you. Yes, fantastic. And questions, I love this. We'll talk a little bit more in just a moment, but curious questions coming from a place of, what's the energy that you are conveying? And I think also the vision is you can have a vision for someone and a vision for yourself because you're at the other end of what's possible. You've taken other people through your process and you know what is possible. So I think number one, also working on our vision of having a bigger vision for them than they can have for themselves without the convincing game. And what also are you transferring? I know that before I get on any conversation, any sales enrollment discussions conversation, I must quiet myself, prepare myself. I need to stop and think, do my research about who this person is, do check out, their LinkedIn profile or their social, whatever it is, and to start to think about where could they be? What's in the way? How can I be in service to them? What are the possibilities? Not like I spent hours doing all kinds of research, but put myself in an energetic place of being so solid. The little picture in the bottom right, I have been in that place too, where I'm rushing between calls and I haven't really had a chance to ground myself. So, getting ourselves really grounded in some basic things about, hey, what problems does your offer solve? What opportunities does, the offer that you're creating, the new program, the new product, the service, whatever it is. So what problems do you solve? What opportunities do you also create for the other person? To really get really solid on those types of things. And of course, this is so important too, is from a curious place, is what's the impact if those things are not handled, right? And to be able to confidently and competently be able to ask those questions of things like, well, what do you think could happen if in, say, a year, this isn't, you've said it's important to you, but if you don't handle it or you don't do X, Y, and Z, or and not from a place of being snarky, or being sarcastic, but no, a real genuine concern and regard is, hey, what could be the impact? And then, of course, painting the vision of what is possible, right? Getting into your heart space and getting real with people. And I don't think that that's why on these sales conversations, enrollment conversations, is this is not a coaching call that we're trying to solve all of their problems, so to speak, or to be able to have them have an experience of transforming a problem. I think a lot of coaches, and I know I would get on a call and I would think that I wanted to solve this person was coming to me with a situation that they wanted to deal with. And the sales enrollment conversation was meant to help them transform that situation that they're dealing with. But instead, we spent all of our time on that and we never really got to what was the thing that I was wanting to have an enrollment conversation about. So being really clear, like what's the focus of the call, okay? And of course, things like what questions do they have? Obviously, I love what you said, Julia Lynn. And what brings them to the call? What's the intention of the call? Let's set up an intention for our call during our brief time together. And I personally, I mean, everybody's a little bit different, but I personally do not want to have enrollment conversations that go hours long. I mean, it's then that could move into being a coaching or consulting call. I think having a really tight 30-minute call is really, really powerful. And I want to just give you a very, the really great model for that is, of course, the GROW model. I love this. It's so easy. Everybody's used this. And this is also a coaching model. So I think it's important not to confuse this with a coaching call, but what are the goals? What is the person looking to accomplish? What are their dreams? What are their hopes? Painting a picture of what would life be like if they had X, Y, and Z, right? And then, of course, the reality, what are they dealing with? And sometimes people start with the reality. That's okay. Tell me what you're dealing with right now. What is the career situation or the corporate situation? Tell it because a lot of people orient towards, hey, they've got a problem they want to solve. And so starting with the reality is cool too. And then, of course, what are the options of you could continue doing what you're doing, or here are some options for what could be next for you, and like a little mini plan of here are some things that you could take action on. And of course, always at the end, what's next? Painting a picture of what's possible, and then shifting to a really nice easy kind of conversation. Would you like to start with this? Would you like to learn more about this? I have a new something coming up. Could we talk about that for a moment? Just keeping it conversational and super easy. Yeah. What are your thoughts about grow? I think it's so simple, and many times people even start with just asking questions about, hey, what was it that you liked? If they're coming in, let's say that you did a webinar or masterclass, they're coming in from your webinar web masterclass, you could even start with, hey, what were the things that you liked about the webinar? What did you hear that you really liked? What brings you to this call? What's the direction that you're going in? I think having prepared, I've got a little script, so to speak, that I always have by the side of my desk that lists, just has some nice kind of icebreaker questions. So practicing those just so that it becomes so easy and natural for you to open the conversation. But having structure is really important. Yeah. Comments, questions. What are you thinking about grow? How do you like to start conversations? Kind of use your own model to move clients through, because we've got to have a system. A sales conversation without a system is a recipe for not accomplishing what either one of you want to accomplish. So what are you thinking?
One of the comments that always comes back to me when we have like goals and dreams up there as part of that first conversation is the statement, having a dream big enough for others to put their dream inside yours. So that when you're talking to them about the success that you see them achieving, you actually are showing them that you maybe have already done it. It's that you still can see opportunities to grow more and in building a bigger dream than you maybe are even hoping for them to achieve within their their list of reality. So I think sometimes it's a combination of putting those first two together, not leaving it as this dream or goal is independent of what the reality is today, that those have to come into a filling the gap between them and making it an achievable thing. Otherwise, it's like you're talking fluff to them about something they cannot see themselves uh, stepping past the chasm that they see between their reality and their dream and goal.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm also curious about utilizing, if you're comfortable with this, but I think it's a very powerful thing, is to use different parts of uh, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, thinking about if you have a visionary, visual person, you have an auditory person, you have a kinesthetic person, or a gustatory person, meaning they would be able to think about how it would taste, what would be the sensory, what is the auditory, what's the visual, what using all of their senses to be able to engage them in this vision, right? Because there are some people that are just not, they're just not visual. They can't really see it, but they know it when they feel it, or they know it like what would be the tangible results and the outcomes that they're looking for. So I think feel free, use all of the senses, use everything that you have to be able to engage them and have them see or experience a vision of what's possible. Yeah. Yeah. Other thoughts, comments?
One of I keep looking outside because there's a very weird truck in front of our house. I don't know what he's
Oh,
doing. But anyway,
oh,
what I like to do is when I get on a call with somebody, is I'll, just warm it up a little bit and see where we got things in common and just a sort of friendly, open, where you from, all that. But then I just ask them, where are you in your life right now? And that usually opens up a torrent of pain points. And I take notes on everything. And
hmm,
they might talk for 10 minutes and I'm taking notes on everything. And then I'll say, just so I understand, and I will repeat back to them
yes.
exactly what they said so they feel seen and heard. And sometimes that's the thing that breaks everything open. And I've had women say, "Oh my God, you really get me." And then I also know from my notes of hearing the pain points and what they want, that's sort of what my avatar that's what they're looking for. So I know to speak to that on social media, which is why what I learned last week, I just asked a whole bunch of men, in my age group or in their 50s, would you mind if I sent you a survey and you anonymously answered questions about how your wife is doing at this stage with her body and menopause and her health? And they were more than willing. They were like, yeah, absolutely. And so at the end of the conference, somebody stood up and said, Julie is looking for husbands. And it was like, wait a minute, I've been married 36 years. And he said, no, that's out of context. But anyway, that was amazing to me that I could talk to husbands and find out, well, what are their wives saying at night that is really bothering them that I may not be able to get to, and I may not be there now myself. So I want to know. I really want to know. So I'm excited about following through on that, making a survey.
How fantastic, and getting a different perspective, not necessarily from, the first person who, but yet understanding the conditions, understanding the environment and the situation, and perhaps, Julia, the things that your ideal clients are saying, but maybe won't say out loud. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They won't say behind, past the front door of their home. They'll say behind the scenes. So,
Right.
yes,
And I think
yes.
acting on the information we get is really
Yeah,
important. Like it made me realize I've got to act on the fact that I'm getting more traction in person
yeah,
for my ideal client than I am online. And I actually gave up my fitness app because it's so low ticket and it was hard because I love those people. But when someone's paying me 24.99 a month for a subscription, and then they don't show up and do it, and then I get a client for 16K just by showing up at some conference, it's like a no-brainer.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I'm hitting a woman of impact
yeah.
because she's accomplished, she can afford it. And as she feels better, she has impact. And so I don't know, it's just there's a lot of things like going around for me right now and how I approach this going forward. So I love that we're having this conversation about sales.
Thank you. Well, the first of many for sure. And yes, and I think also for me and for all of the women that I know and I coach and I guide and mentor is, I'll just say it, I don't think we're having enough conversations. Okay. I will just say that. And Julia, thank you, because the more conversations that we have, I believe we really get to understand what's happening now for our ideal clients. And so I'm just putting the gauntlet in, as issuing the challenge that having at least, five, maybe 10, depending upon the game we're playing, right? Having a consistent number of conversations every day, multiple times a week, is really, really, really critical. And of course, if you're in the stage where you've got a launch going on, well, that's obviously really, really important. But to what you've all said is, it's such a great information gathering, connecting. You're really, really up on what's happening now, because what's happening now is different than, or there's a subtlety that may be different than 6 months ago or a year ago. Plus the seasonality of what we're dealing with. Here we are we're in the fourth quarter of 2025. People's concerns are different than they were, obviously, than last year at this time. So, really being able to meet the moment and to be able to gather, and I think also to be able to bring in these kinds of ideas into a conversation would be great. Hey, I just, like, as example is, I just spoke with another woman who is, or another person who is on the East Coast or on the West Coast of the United States. She's dealing with this. Is this something that you can relate to, or is this something that you're dealing with? And so having them see that you are such a category of one, you're such a leader, that you really have the pulse of what's happening with their peers, with other things, so incredibly just important. Yeah, good. Okay. So utilizing and for me, getting really good, there are so many different models that we can use to have sales conversations or enrollment conversations. But I just love the ease of grow. I really do. And for us to also be certain that this is not a coaching call. We're not trying to coach them up on something. And I think also to even lay out in the first beginning parts of the conversation is that the intention that I have is let's talk about what's happening in your life and let's talk about what could be some options. And then, we'll discuss if there's an opportunity to work together. Having kind of a roadmap on how you're going to have the call go. And then, of course, to ask for agreement. Does that work for you? Is there something else on your agenda that you'd like to include, right? Because so many people have been trained to come to discovery calls or conversations that they're going to be coached on a topic. They've been so accustomed to that there could be some confusion as to the agenda and the desired outcomes from the call. And so, uncovering, hey, what are some problems? What are some opportunities? What are the feelings and emotions that they wrestle with about this? This is so critical. How do they feel about the thing that they shared that's either an opportunity for them or a challenge, right? How do they feel about it? How is it impacting their life? And then, of course, what do they want to experience? What are the things that they want to experience instead? And so, being able to lay out the whole thing. And I love to is co-creating a brand new vision of what's possible to be able to have them see that, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. And this is corporate coaching and consulting as well, is this is exactly what I do in sales conversations, enrollment conversations, when I go into corporations, is starting to understand what have they been dealing with? What's the reality? What would they like instead? And being a partner in, yeah, we can do this together, and here's how we could do this. Here's how we can change this. And so that they really see that you're the partner that will help them get to the new vision. Yeah. Anything else you want to jump in around this? Yeah. And also, finally, I think if the person or the corporation, they're not looking for X, Y, and Z, let's not sell it to them or provide it to them at the very beginning, right? If they're telling you that they want certain things, let's serve them up to what they are saying that they really want. What are the things that they are saying, hey, these are problems, these are opportunities, these are things that I want to get fixed right away. Help to remove the pain instead of providing a vitamin or some sort of fantastic probiotic that will help them in about 3 to 6 months. No, serve them up what they are looking for right now, but then you know that you can deliver what you know that they need long term. And this, I do this all the time with my corporate clients, is I help them with dealing with and get to healthy conflict right away if that's the issue that they're dealing with, is they are having unhealthy conversations. People are not enjoying coming to work. That's one of my offers, is corporate team intelligence. Help them deal with that, but then longer term, help them work on, hey, what are some things around accomplishing some goals together, or being able to create a culture that is really working for everyone. But the immediate is dealing with unhealthy conflict. Okay. Can you imagine going into a client and serving them up some things that are things that ultimately that they need, but they're not telling you that they need it right now? Yeah. Any points of view, comments, questions on that, or anything? So give them the coffee they ordered for, but then deliver them afterwards the croissant, the bagel, whatever it is that they would ultimately like to have to go along with it. Yeah, thank you. Trish,
Kathleen.
jump
Oh,
in.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was just going to say, I love what you wrote about co-creation. So frequently I see people get feedback that their baby is ugly, and then they walk away with their tail between their legs and they say they didn't want it. And the fact of the matter is, if someone takes the time, so I know for me, when, having my CEO hat on, if somebody comes to me and I actually bother to take the time to tell them why I'm not interested in this, or I'm not sure that that hits home with that, or something like that, that means I'm actually engaged. That means I'm telling you what I absolutely don't want and what I'm okay with and what I might like, because I'm expressing why I'm having a problem with something that was in there. I find more and more so, every day, the less I can engage when I don't have to, the more I want to do that. I have to do that. It's a survival mechanism to be able to process as much as you're processing as the CEO of a scaling company. So if I'm bothering to engage, that means I'm interested. And unless I'm just being a jerk, and there's some people they're just being a jerk, but for the most part, that's invaluable feedback that will help you, help me, help you co-create something that would actually hit the mark and feel and create the value that I'm looking for.
Fantastic, Tricia. And we also know in C-Suite Network that Jeffrey Hazlett, chairman, talks about mutual conditions of satisfaction. I just love that. Mutual conditions of satisfaction is, what is it that we're both looking to accomplish? What are we both looking to achieve in the vision? And it's not just them and it's not just me, but how can we come together? And I think that creating those kinds of conditions and knowing where the person is, where are they in the sales cycle for you? What else are they looking for? And I firmly believe in a keep in touch strategy. I just firmly
Mhm.
believe it. Some people say, gosh, they get into your funnel, and if they don't make a decision, then they're out of my funnel. I I I just believe in nurturing, and I think all of you do too, is sometimes it takes time for people to fully come to the truth of what they're dealing with and what they're looking for. So I love to do nurturing with mutual
Mhm.
conditions of satisfaction. Yeah. Yes. Great.
How do you do that cost effectively is really the question.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Well, what a great question that is, Tricia. Yeah, exactly. And also to do it where there's that we're not over giving, and we make sure that there's the mutual part of the reciprocity, right? Yeah, exactly. Boy, what a great additional conversation. Yes, yes. So as we complete, big topic, right? My gosh, such a big topic. And I am curious, as always, just curious if there's a next step, action step that you feel inclined and feel that you'd like to take, because all of this is so important to take the next step. And, your call to action, your personal next step. And also, as we complete our time, I'm curious what your biggest takeaway is from our time together, putting a little bookend on our time. And my biggest takeaway is a reminder: structure sales calls, have a call C2A on everything that I'm doing, and have more sales conversations, and a minimum of, I'll just put that out there on video, a minimum of at least 15 to 20 sales conversations per week. Yeah, that's my takeaway. How about you? What's your biggest takeaway?
I think what you said was sales is service, and also a transfer of energy, enthusiasm, and vision. I really liked that, Kathleen.
Thank you, Julia. Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, thank you. And you do that. I think we can all raise the bar, right? On our energy level and our commitment and our focus, right? Yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. Great. We're sparkling for you. Carol, did you want to jump in? Susan, Trisha, biggest takeaway?
So I thought it was impactful to set your sales conversation to 30 minutes. Mine tend to roll on, and that you are not there to solve their problems today, other than to show them how you could be helpful.
Brilliant, Carol. Yes, thank you. Yes, imagine if when we're having so many, just light kind of like, let's get together for coffee. You know what I'm saying? That kind of that spirit and that energy. But yet we're not here for a doctor's visit where we're trying to diagnose and prescribe. No, it's like, hey, let's see if there's a fit and there's alignment. You can always schedule a second follow-up call. I've done that so many times, but let's get the engine going, right? Yeah, yeah, thank you. Susan, Tricia, any takeaways that you'd love to share?
I'm feeling it's always that curiosity aspect of
Mm,
really making it about what do they really need, not just what are they saying, but taking that conversation deep enough to really crack through the surface of what they're willing to share firsthand.
yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much. Yes, exactly. Love that. Boy, an art and a science, isn't it, Susan? Yeah, yeah, thank you. Tricia, jump in. Take us home, dear.
There we go. Kathleen, the structure of those meetings, I think, is so powerful, and I cannot emphasize that enough. So the number, that's obviously, you're not going to 100% close every conversation, so you need to know what your numbers are. But the structure of them, that is so powerful. And right now with C-Suite Network, I can't even begin to tell you how ecstatic I am that I now have standard packages that my higher level team is able to deliver on, feeling really good about it, but in a totally standardized process. So, discovery call with our simple overview. Next stage, a follow up that says, we understand, what your challenge is. This is what we're thinking makes sense of the building blocks and the original deck we shared. Next call is a next document is a Word document that outlines in detail what we discussed in
Yeah,
that first and second meeting. The first and second deck goes into a Word document with more detail. And then the last is after we've met on that or gotten feedback on that, depending on what's happening and the speed at which everything's moving, then the terms and conditions get added to it. And that process with standardized materials, I can't even tell you how excited I am, and how much quote unquote easier it is because everybody knows what the plan is, and we're able to give that ease and comfort to our partner or potential partner to say, this is what we do and this is what we can say the results will be because we've been through this umpteen times and we brought it all together in a meaningful way. So we started doing this in the last month, and we've already gotten 4 major closes with this process. And for us, that's enormous in the C-suite ecosystem. So, along with everything else, of course, but very excited about that. And I think, Kathleen, your sight lines into what that looks like, just standardize it. There's a peace and a calm that goes with it. And if somebody else could take those standard materials and sell it for you, that's, I think, a good test.
yeah.
Trisha, I have a quick question for you. It might be kind of obvious. Your offer is B2B, right?
It typically would be, yes.
Because I'm thinking like 3 calls B2C, someone would be like, they make up
Yes,
their mind before the second call, but I was just curious.
yes. So what I'm talking about with that format is a minimum of a $30,000 annual program, up
Okay.
up to 150,000 plus. So
Okay.
30,
So
60, 120, 150 plus.
that makes a
So
lot of sense then.
yes, yes. To your point, Julia, we have even our $100 a month membership or subscription service. That's a whole other funnel. So yeah, it's it's very different. On the
Yeah, for
consumer
sure.
side, the reason I answered the way I did is on the consumer side, we support businesses reaching to consumer. And again, that would be a totally different strategy and approach depending on what that is and what that looks like.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, that makes total sense. I might have missed what you had said earlier about that, but thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you. And having a process, right? That's one of the biggest takeaways, no matter what the process is, having a process. So, yeah, thank you. Well, ladies, golden as always. Thank you. Thank you for bringing your magic. And let's go. Let's have more conversations. And we will never know the lives that will be changed by one conversation and one next step. So, with that, bye for now. We'll see you on our next program. Thanks again. Can't wait.
Thank you.
My gosh, great, great, great stuff. Sales is service. Love you. Bye bye. Thank you. Thanks.